have you ever been in a situation where you were trying to expose the truth to somebody, but they just wouldn't accept that truth that you were trying to present to them? No matter how many facts or how many whatever you're trying to present, they just wouldn't accept it. Well, that sort of describes the allegory of the cave, which Plato talked about in this book called The Republic. And it's going to be a little bit of what kind of explaining what I'm going through and why I made this video. See, I'm in a situation where I'm exactly like the person Plato described in the allegory of the cave. Now, let's break it down in simple terms. Well, in the book, he describes a scenario where there are these people who are born inside of this cave, right? And they see figures, they see shadows. I mean, they see figures through like the shadow. There's fire, and basically whenever people walk past this fire, they see these faint shadows of shapes and objects. They believe that those shapes and objects are real, but they think that the shadows are real. Not like those aren't real people, but those shadows are real. And one person inside of that cave breaks free. And then they go outside, and the reality is a little bit hard because their mind is distorted. Their mind is distorted because they can't accept reality. It takes a while for them to kind of accept this reality. It's like if you were in 1984 playing NES, and then they dropped you in 2025, and you have a PS5 or a PC with all of this power. It would just be too much for their minds to accept, right? So this is what happened to that gentleman who broke out of that cave. He got to see the lakes. He got to see the sunlight. He got to see the trees, the grass, the beautiful animals, different everything, colors that he's never seen before. And his reality starts to adapt to everything that's around him. So when he comes back, he tries to explain the things that he saw with these prisoners that were inside of the cave. And they don't want to believe him. And he tries to break them free, and they attack him. They hurt him and they harm him, and they don't want to break free because they believe that those shadows that they see, that's their reality, and that's the way it is. Right? We see a lot of that happening right now with politics, right? We see that happening with politics, no matter what side you're on. But the situation I'm in a similar situation because I'm trying to educate drivers. I'm trying to educate drivers about union rights. I'm trying to educate drivers about the importance of driver unity. I'm trying to educate these drivers. And some people, even people that are close to me, they're just inside of that cave, right? And everybody that's a driver are inside of that cave. But you know, once you let what do they say? Once you let the cat out of the bag, it's kind of hard to put the cat right back inside the bag. So that's where I'm at. I've already walked out there and I've seen the world for what it actually is by going through a grievance. But these drivers, it's willful ignorance. It's cognitive dissonance. Like they just don't want to see the reality for what it is because they've been doing this pattern for however long. And until something happens, that's when they'll come to me. That's when they'll ask me. When something as bad is about to happen, then they'll come to me. So I'm pretty sure many of you are in a similar situation or have been in a situation where maybe there was a friend and you say, hey, man, I kind of saw your significant other at a restaurant with somebody else. I don't know. It looked a little bit like they were romantically involved. I don't know. And the friend gets mad at you, and they turn on you. They get right back with the person that they have their situation with, which is one of the reasons why I, in particular, don't get into people's personal relationships or say anything that I saw, because I don't know. Maybe you guys have a certain arrangement. I don't know. I don't want to be in the middle. I don't want to get in that stuff. That's your business. But the thing is, once you get out of that cave, once you see reality for what it is, you have to, at this point, only, I guess, self-preservation, and try to get the ones who have the ability to open their minds and be willing to accept a reality that's outside of the one that they're living in order to accept the truth. Because we live in a society right now where people's mindset is fixed, and there's a little bit of peace with ignorance. There's a lot of peace with ignorance, because you look at a child is happy. A child is so happy. They're not quite in alignment with reality, the way that things work. That's why it's so dangerous to place kids in situations where they could be harmed. Why you see certain toys have directions say, hey, if you have a child up to this age, this presents a choking hazard. This presents this type of danger. You don't want your kids around fire or things that are flammable or things that may explode or things that because kids don't live in the reality where they sense danger, or they sense somebody with bad intentions. Now, adults, the more that we live life, it hardens us, because we see the reality. We recognize the selfishness of the human condition, where a person is more than likely going to look out for themselves over the entire group. I don't know if it's a survival thing, but that's just the way that the mindset is crafted as human beings. And we become hardened because we know that people are really can be really cruel, or can have a side to them where that can be not in alignment to where a person could just live as freely as a child would. So adulthood hardens us. We become more knowledgeable, and we kind of see why we shouldn't be so ignorant, or why we shouldn't just be. So that's the downside of knowledge. The more that you know, once you know it, you cannot unknow it. You cannot unlearn it, right? Because the truth is the truth. We've seen this with leaders before in the past. We've seen this with Malcolm X. We've seen this with Martin Luther King. We've seen this even with people who have made advancements in astrology. You take somebody like Galileo, who was pretty much sentenced to house arrest until his death, because people have a problem with those who kind of speak up and see what's ahead. And often those people are punished. Even Socrates punished because maybe they knew too much, or maybe they were too far ahead of the generation or the people that surrounded them, the society that surrounded them. So it's frustrating being inside of that cave, but the allegory of the cave is pretty much anybody. He wrote it specifically for philosophers, talking about philosophers, but anybody who seeks knowledge, anybody who seeks to educate people out of a situation of bondage. Often these people that are in bondage, mental bondage, that they don't want to escape that. So always remember that even though you're fighting this fight where you're educating and you're trying to educate others, always think to yourself that those people that fought before you never got recognition until afterwards, right? Way, way down the line. And sometimes it's like that. But as long as you know the truth is the truth, stay in that fight. That's the message of the day. It's your boy Discerning Thoughts. Like this, share, comment below if you felt like you've been in a situation where you're inside of that where you've escaped the cave and you're trying to explain to these people that are inside the cave that, hey man, this is not reality. There's something outside of this. It could be somebody trying to escape a neighborhood or poverty or something like that. And you're like, man, I got this, whatever. And the person's like, nah. So leave that comment below. And I'm out. Peace.